Hello and welcome back. This is our podcast number 3, and today we are very lucky to have Philip Julien, who is the CEO of NewGen. Philip, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sean.
How has the conference been for you so far?
This has been the conference for NewGen, lad. It has been amazing. The quality, the energy, the props, the vibe. You know, everyone really seems to be getting this new hydrogen frontier.
And you know, NewGen is at the tip of everybody's tongue. Everybody's talking about hydrogen. Everybody's talking about the transition to the green economy. You must be very excited because you are in a position to create that new economy.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. Look, it's been a 2-year journey. I'm privileged to have declared NewGen here almost 2 years ago to the run. And to see the journey that we've been on, the country's been on, and the stakeholders and the energy community, the support has been extraordinary.
I'm so happy to hear that, Philip. And Philip, you know, your story is such a lovely one. You know, you have a world-class education. You worked at some of the best companies in the world. You spent a lot of time in Canada, you know, but you made a decision at one point that said, I want to leave this and I want to go back home and I want to contribute to the development of Trinidad and Tobago. And you have kids, you had a wife. That must have been a big decision for you and your family.
It was. I mean, thankfully at the time, it was just my wife and I. We didn't have the challenge of moving the kids, but I think the real thing that happened for me, Sean, while I was in Canada was, you know, I was in my early 30s and I realized, well, look, Canada, the streets are clean, the lights are on, bills are paid. Where can we make a difference?
Right.
And then there was the draw to Trinidad, where I saw this tremendous unrealized opportunity in our people.
Right.
And I wanted to come back and contribute to that. I wasn't really sure how. I mean, I had the opportunity to work with my dad briefly at KNSJ Systems, so that was a company he had set up. And I got my foot into the energy sector, and it just grew from there. But as you know well, in parallel with that was the birth of the Heroes Foundation.
It was.
All of that just manifested from that.
Tell us a little bit about the Heroes Foundation. I think it's such a wonderful organization. We've had the privilege to work with you on the Heroes Foundation. You have great leadership in Lawrence over there. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so look, within a year of me moving back, I realized, look, there's an apathy in the youth. There's a low self-esteem, and yet we're in what I view to be the greatest country in the world with all these amazing leaders, achievers, achievements. And let's try and connect the dots.
Right.
And that is where the whole concept of creating the next generation of heroes from the current generation of youth was born.
Right.
Where the Heroes Foundation came from, youth development program, and started the Heroes Development Program.
Right.
Big Brothers, Big Sisters mentorship, and of course our my personal love of 50 heroes, and now the growth of the comic book stories. That all grew from that same passion of wanting to come home and make a unique difference that would benefit the society.
You know, I love the work you do at the Heroes Foundation. I think everybody needs superheroes.
Amen.
And sometimes when those superheroes look like us and song like us and talk like us, it makes it even more like we feel like we could be superheroes too.
Absolutely. And we did, you were part of it a couple of years ago right here at the conference where we did that big event with the help of the Energy Chamber, and we acknowledged the superheroes of the energy sector in the past, and we embraced the future heroes of the energy sector, and It was just a magical moment, Sean.
It was.
And I tell you, them coming to visit you here a couple of years ago was a real highlight, Sean.
Yeah.
It really lit them up, and want to see more of that. That was great.
And we need that next generation, Philip. Like I feel like, you know, the last 3 years, it's been tough. And anybody who's been in the energy sector, we understand that.
Yeah.
But I think we have a resilient sector, you know, and we know that the sector goes up and down like that, but we got to survive and we got to go through it. But at the same time, you are involved in this exciting world of hydrogen. And, you know, yesterday I spoke to Giselle Thompson from BP, and we were talking about, you know, around 1995, 96, 97, Trinidad was at the helm of that transition away from oil to gas. And if you ask me, there's another transition that's taking place right now, and that's the transition from gas to hydrogen. And you are at the front of that. Tell us a little about NewGen, and tell us why every single Trinbagonian should be excited about NewGen and should be excited about hydrogen.
Absolutely. So one common interest that we all have as human beings living on this fragile planet is this environmental concern about greenhouse gas emissions. In Trinidad, not only do we have that to contend with, but we have a real environmental imperative of the shortage of natural gas that our energy sector has been suffering with for the past 10, 15 years.
Right.
It's not enough natural gas to fill the ammonia and methanol plants that we've been graced to have for the past 30, 40 years. Enter new hydrogen, or hydrogen that can be generated from water.
Right.
So you pass electricity through water, you zap it, you create the hydrogen with the oxygen. That's the same hydrogen that our ammonia and methanol plants need.
Right.
And it's fossil free. And that's something that the world is asking for, that the ammonia and methanol that Trinidad and Tobago make, when it's exported, is greener.
Yeah.
Less fossil fuel involved in its generation. And Trinidad has this remarkable opportunity to fill over 400,000 tons of a gap per year of hydrogen that we've been struggling with. Let's fill it with green hydrogen, low carbon hydrogen. Let's make our commodities more relevant and appealing. Let's have them attract a premium around the world. And let's put Trinidad and Tobago once again in that space.
And we can't do it because we have the people to do it. We have the skill set, we have the engineers, we have a service industry that can support a world-class energy industry. And you know what, Philip, I think that sometimes we don't celebrate that enough. We don't recognize how good a lot of Trinbagonians are. And we see people like you going onto the world stage and making a huge difference. But sometimes we need to also celebrate the fact that, hey, right here, our fellow Trinbagonians are world-class professionals.
And I think because I have the opportunity to go on those world stages, as you say, and it happened to me when I was in Canada.
Right.
Then from the outside in, then you really see what a remarkable country and a remarkable people we are.
Right.
We take it for granted. We live here in our fishbowl, but from the outside in, we're just light years ahead in order to expect us to be. And I think when people start learning about the electrolyzers and what's involved to zap it, we will eat this up.
Yep, 100%.
It was lunch and dinner for us, man. I mean, when prospective electrolyzer entities come to visit Trinidad and they look at the complexity of Point Lisa, they say, look, if you guys can do that,
we can do the hydrolyzer.
Man,
Yeah.
problem.
I you know, for the younger people looking, the chemistry students, we use a lot of natural gas, which is an NH molecule. And what we do is we split the H out of the NH and we leave the NH. Sorry, the CH, NH. And instead we go to water and we get H2O, and we're taking the H out of that H2O, right?
Correct.
Very good.
So there's no more C. So there's a CH4 in this natural gas.
Right.
You keep the H, and now you got H2O.
Right.
No carbon footprint.
Which is what the world needs, a low carbon.
World is demanding because we got to save our planet, man.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Good. And so, Philip, I want to ask you a question. There are a lot of young people in Trinidad right now, in Tobago and Trinidad and the Caribbean, who are saying, listen, what does the energy transition mean for me? I know my country has been a big oil and natural gas producer, and to a large extent, the quality of life that we live in the country is because of the oil and the natural gas that we produce.
Yes.
And people are saying, okay, listen, the natural gas is no longer there. And sometimes people become despondent. They say, well, what's the future? Is there a future for me in Trinidad and Tobago? What advice are you going to give to the young people, the STEM graduates, the engineering folks, about is there a future for them in Trinidad and Tobago? What does that future look like? And what skills do they need to have in order to participate in that new arena?
Absolutely. And I got to start by saying that same event we had 2 years ago, the first people who heard about NewGen were those secondary school students.
Right.
I launched to them in that room, and then I came in, I launched here. But the reason was this is for their future,
Right.
not ours. And they have to embrace that future. And it is a future worth embracing. Trinidad and Tobago already has the infrastructure established to convert hydrogen into ammonia. That's Point Lisa. We have that. We also have LNG trains. We have that. The infrastructure is there.
Right.
There are other parts of the world that are working to try and build the infrastructure that we have, we've invested in, we're blessed with.
Right.
So Trinidad and Tobago will be an integral part of the global energy transition. We just have to work on changing our feedstock from hydrogen coming from the carbon source to the fossil-free source, which means, as you know, we've talked about this, there's so much renewable energy that needs to be generated to zap enough water to create enough hydrogen to fill that gap.
Exactly.
That is an immediate need. So it is what I would call an unstoppable trend that at some point in Trinidad and Tobago's future, to fill that gap, this renewable wave is coming to the market. There's a market. There's a market. So all of these gigawatts of renewable energy that needs to be found, whether it be geothermal from within the region or hydro or solar or offshore wind right here, that's an industry waiting to be born.
100%.
Hypothetical. We have a clear and present need to fill that renewable gap to feed our existing petrochemical sector.
And we need people with certain skill sets. And our universities play a fundamental role in ensuring we have that talent that comes in to help build the industry. And I know that NewGen has been working alongside the university in Trinidad and Tobago to put those things in place. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so for example, University of West Indies partnered with us and with NGC on the whole, what does it look like to take some of the hydrogen that we're talking about and blending it into the NGC natural gas, because that's a done thing.
Right.
Because if you do that, you unlock so many more ammonium methanol plants. We have actively engaged with University of West Indies students who were doing this as a study.
Right.
And they completed, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, we started this hydrogen research collaborative with University of West Indies, UTT, ourselves, NGC, and so on. And what I just described is just the first step.
Right.
It's going to be, because this is cutting edge, new horizons shown, there's work and studies waiting to be done that the whole world is only now waking up to.
Yeah.
They're looking at it through a theoretical set of eyes. We're looking at it with point that's just on the...
Yeah.
Not a problem.
We've been there. We've done that already, right?
And we've got a problem to fix, so let's get on with it. If it's not just cute academic work, this is with purpose, and I think that's the big difference that we have going here. We got a problem statement to solve. 50 years ago, there's a problem statement of nuisance flare gas. We birthed Point Lisa.
And we fixed it.
Yes.
We took what was a problem and we created an opportunity out of it.
Yes. So let's do it again.
Good.
It's in our DNA.
It is. And Philip, as we wrap up, let me ask you, you've been all over the world. You've seen different industries. You led Woolly Parsons there in Trinidad. Yes. You know, Woolly is a company with EPC company with projects all over the world. What would you say a few of the things that we need to improve on as a country in order to attract more capital and to build more projects, to give more opportunities to the young people in our country?
Absolutely. I think the first thing, and it's something that we at Kenneth J worked on, is to fast track the approvals process. You know, optimize and streamline how quickly we can get this large pipeline of projects into reality. Accelerating that whole program would be a huge way to get us to move forward, because the more projects there are on, the more employment there is, the more learnings. That, I think, is one of the fundamental things that we can do differently. And the second, as cliche as it sounds, is to believe in ourselves, much like how you believed in yourself to grow this remarkable enterprise. We need more of that mindset to think that just because we're from a third world country, that we can't do it. And if anyone needs a reminder, go visit Point Lisas, go visit Atlantic LNG. Let us believe in ourselves and know that we can do extraordinary things on a world scale.
Yeah, people might call us a third world country, but we are first world people.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right, Philip, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
It's a
Are you optimistic about the future of Trinidad and Tobago?
I am defiantly optimistic. And these days, that's going from defiance to over exuberance, particularly in what I've seen in this conference.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you so much.
All the best.
When we
Cheers.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. So lucky to have Philip on. And I hope a lot of you will go onto the NewGen website, read up on it, understand what's going on with hydrogen, understand why hydrogen is going to be the next big thing for Trinidad and Tobago. Take care and all the best.